So you are here because something in your individual giving campaigns isn't quite clicking. Maybe you've been running the same campaign for a few years and the results have plateaued or they've declined. Maybe you've launched something new and it just didn't perform the way that you expected. And maybe you're looking at your numbers and thinking you're doing everything right. So why aren't we growing? Whatever brought you here today, you are in the right place because all of those experiences point to the same thing. There are gaps somewhere in your campaign that have not been identified yet. And once you can see them, you can fix them. By the end of this webinar, you are going to leave with a clear picture of where gaps typically hide in a fundraising campaign and why they cost your organization donors and dollars. And you're going to know exactly where to look at each stage of your campaign. And you'll walk away with a practical framework that you can take back and apply to your next one. So you have an incredible mission. The work your organization does in your community is urgent and it matters. But when it comes to your fundraising campaigns, you're struggling to translate that mission into a message that moves people to donate. Your emails might go out with low open rates. Your donation page may get traffic, but the conversion rate is disappointing. People engage with your content on social media. They like it, they interact with it, but they don't give. So type yes in the comments if you've experienced any of these things, or let me know if there's something that you would add to this list. And the frustrating part is you can't always put your finger on it if you don't know exactly where to look. So you don't know exactly where it's breaking down, right? So if you nodded yes to any of those things, take a breath. You're definitely not doing it wrong. What you're experiencing is very common, and it's not a reflection of your effort or your constituents. Because I promise you, the clients that I work with and their supporters, they care very deeply about your mission and your organization. And you have fundraising goals that you want to achieve, and your community wants to make an impact. And the problem is that nobody really handed you a map, right? Individual giving campaigns have a lot of moving parts, and most of us learned by doing, through trial and error, by inheriting a campaign that already existed, or by piecing together best practices from a dozen different places. So if there are gaps in your campaign, it's not because you missed something obvious, it's just because you didn't know exactly where to look. So that's what we're going to change today, hopefully. So I'm going to take you through the 5-step process that we use with our clients when we partner with them to evaluate and optimize their campaigns. So in step 1, we understand the goals. So we start by getting a very clear understanding of what success looks like for you. What are your objectives? We know that revenue is definitely one of them, but there could be some things beyond revenue as well. We take a look at your donor's experience. We step into your donor's shoes, review their full journey, looking at the email appeal series through the donation page. We look at the autoresponders, the thank you messages they're getting, to what happens after the campaign is over. So we're trying to see if we can identify any places where there could be friction and see if we can tell where donors are falling off. Then next, we're going to dig into the data. So we're looking at email performance, open rates, click-through rates, We're looking at conversion rates, the number of donations, the average donation amounts. Those are some of the things that kind of tell us a little bit more about our campaign performance and where things might be dropping off. And then we optimize for impact. So we're taking those insights that we gain from our data and we're turning those into action. So, what can you do to optimize your messaging and tell your story in a way that's going to convert donors? And the goal isn't just to optimize one single campaign, it's really to strengthen your overall donor journey so that the donor understands the impact that they're making and they're encouraged to engage with your organization in longer term ways. And then finally, we're always evaluating, right? So we're going to revisit the data. We're going to see if the changes that we made improved our metrics. How was the conversion rate affected? What happened to those donation averages? What changes worked? And is there anything that didn't work exactly the way that we expected? So we're always testing and refining and evolving our campaigns. So I'm going to walk through and dive a little bit deeper into each of those steps. So the first step is understanding the goal. So first we need to get a really clear understanding of what success looks like. And of course, revenue is always one of those goals, right? But what else besides revenue? For example, are you looking to acquire new donors? Are you looking to upgrade current donors? Maybe you're trying to take a segment of your audience that is making a one-time donation and get them to be monthly donors. So we're really looking closely at what you are intending to do, right? And then we're trying to see whether the ask and the urgency and the incentive, if there is one, aligns with that goal, and whether the campaign makes it immediately clear to the donor why they should donate now and why their donation matters. Next, we're going to evaluate the donor's experience. So, like I said, we're going to take a look at their journey from start to finish. Like, are we targeting the right people? What do they know about your organization and what you do? How long have they been involved? Have they donated before? So, we're looking at everything from the message that they're receiving in the emails through the donation page, through the thank you page, the confirmation email that they get, to what happens after the campaign is over. So we're making sure that your story resonates really well throughout all of this, because people donate because of their emotional connection. So it's really important that we pay close attention to the clarity and the tone and make sure that your call to action is strong. We look at the ask array to make sure that that fits in with the goals of the campaign and whether donors can clearly see the impact of their gift. And throughout all of this, we want to make sure that things are kept really simple and that we're focusing on one aspect of your mission at a time so that donors can really connect with that and understand what their impact is. Because if you overwhelm them, give them too much information, they kind of stop reading. We lose them, right? So next, we're going to analyze performance and behavior. So this is where we're really digging into the data. So some of the things that you'll want to review are your open rates, click-through rates, conversion rates on your donation page. We're going to look at how much the average gift is. We'll look at the median and mode as well. And even take a look at what device your constituents use to make donations so that we can really understand what's working and where donors are disengaging. So this is going to allow us to move, beyond assumptions and identify the highest impact opportunities for improvement. So I'm going to just share with you an example from one of our clients. I'm going to use New York Public Library as our example. And they have organized a centennial campaign for their Schomburg Center, which is one of their libraries, which is world renowned for research in Black culture. So a really, really fun and cool campaign to work on. So after talking with their staff about the goals of this campaign, I reviewed their performance and their conversion data. I looked through each of their email messages that they sent to their constituent base. And what we found is open rates were over 30%, which is excellent. Average open rates for nonprofit emails typically range from 17 to 28%. So they were at 30. So we knew we were good there. And this means that the subject lines they were using were catching their audience's attention. So because those were doing so well, we didn't touch those. When we dove one layer deeper and we looked at their click-through rates, those typically were less than 1% for just about every one of those messages. Now, the average click-through rate for email like a solicitation email ranges anywhere from 1.5 to 3.5% on average. So since theirs was less than 1%, we easily identified this as a leak that we needed to fix so that we could get more people to read the email and click on it to get to the donation page. And we also know that most of their constituents make donations using their phone. So we need to make sure that the emails are scannable and that the messages and the donation page itself is optimized for mobile. Next, we looked at their conversion rate for the donation page itself, and we found that was low. So that was just over 3%, and the average conversion rate on the platform that they use is 12%. So it was very clear that we needed to make some changes to their donation page to help improve that conversion. So by digging into their data, we found that the top two opportunities were improving their email click-through rates and improving the conversion rate on their donation page. And then finally, we turn those insights into action. So in order to improve their click-through rates, I provided some recommendations that sharpened the emotional appeal. We updated the language in their emails to create more emotional connection with potential donors. We included more storytelling, and we talked more about the tangible outcomes of what the donations will accomplish. And most importantly, I think we made the donor the hero of the story. We also updated imagery to tell the story. They had some amazing imagery, so we were able to look through some of the images they already had and added those to their email communications. They also had a donor who made a match donation. So we used that to create some urgency. So donors need to know why they need to donate now. Otherwise, they're going to pause and then probably forget because life is so busy. So you always want to create some sense of urgency in your email solicitations. So We also wanted to take a look at the messaging that went out and the communication that went out after the campaign. Because again, we're looking to strengthen the donor journey. So we want to make sure that both new and returning donors understand their impact and that they're encouraged to engage with the organization in longer term ways. We want to think through, what is the next step for the donors? Are they being thanked? Do you share the results of your campaign? They really do care how successful it was, how much you raised overall, how much of that is going back into your community. Are they able to see the impact that their donation made? Do they need further education from here? Like if they're a new donor, do we want to provide them with more information about what your organization is doing in your community? Is there some type of membership that you offer or a recurring donor program or an event that you would like to get them to attend? And in some instances, we want to lead them down a path where they will become a major donor. So I'm going to show you an example of what we looked at. This is from their donation page. So I mentioned, this particular page was converting at 3%, and we identified that as a leak, so to speak. We really wanted to get that up. So conversion rates are affected by traffic sources, so your e-communications or a web page that is driving potential donors to the donation page. So we look at source codes to know where those folks are coming from. But the imagery and the language used on the page also has clearly a really big impact. So here we took their donation page and we updated the headline and the tagline to better reflect the impact of this campaign. And then we also took the generic CTA button and customized it for this campaign. So that was one of the things we did that really made a difference. We also made sure that their ask array was aligned. So they had an option here. It was actually preset to default to monthly donors, but that wasn't really the goal of this campaign. So it didn't really align. We wanted to get people to donate, and then once they've donated and went through a welcome series, then we wanted to, at that point, upgrade them to a membership. But that wasn't the point of this particular campaign. So we made the default one-time donations instead of monthly. And then we made sure that the ask array aligned with the campaign. So this one's a little more obvious because it's a centennial campaign, starting with at the $100 level or making sure that there is a $100 level makes sense. And this just depends. Like it's pretty obvious for this one, but it might be something that is aligned to your mission. We also really take a look at, again, the donation averages and the mean and the mode to make sure that we're asking for the right amounts on your donation page. And then we made sure that the language aligned. So instead of focusing on the library and we need 500 donors to donate $100, instead of focusing on that, we throughout the donation page, throughout the e-communications, we really made sure that the donor was the hero of the story. And we talked very simply about the impact. We used the match to create urgency. So all of these had all of the changes that we made resulted in increased revenue. So by making these changes, revenue went from just over $7,000 to almost $18,000. So 151% increase. The average donation increased by 13%, and the number of donations increased by 123%. So they had really, really great results just by optimizing a few things. And then we always need to reevaluate. So again, just looking back at the data, we saw what the results were. We always take a look to see, what else can we optimize? Are there things we can do to increase donation averages? Like, we're always trying to make sure that campaigns evolve and raise more money.